What is going on, party people, and welcome to episode 12 of the review show. Each week we pick something new here to talk about, whether it be a comic book, a movie, a TV show, manga, or more. We read it, we watch it, we do what we have to do, we come back here and talk about it. My name is Kyle Springer, and along for the ride I have Melissa Wilkinson.
Hello, Kyle. Hello, listeners.
Yeah. How are you this week?
I'm doing good. You might not recognize me with the red arm. I went out yesterday and I got inadvertently sunburned because I didn't have a high enough SPF for the amount of time I ended up being outdoors.
Hell
so I
yeah,
tried to
white
prepare.
people problems.
It did not work. So yeah, I'm just over here being all pink.
There you go. Nice and cooked. Yeah, that's good. So you went to the zoo yesterday, is what you said?
Yeah.
Cool. Was that just like family thing, just for fun? Were you going with a friend? Father's Day type of thing? Because we're recording this on Father's Day. So.
We are. I went on a date, Kyle.
Oh, you went on a date. Awesome.
Yes, and I did want to tell you about this because one of the first things you brought up to me when we first had our, meeting about, hey, do you need help with the podcast? Was you told me one of your inspirations was the Kind of Funny podcast. Yeah. That thing.
That was their whole crew.
Yeah, that was in this guy's bio, and I'm like, oh, I know what that thing is. So, I had an opening line because of you, Kyle.
There you go. Shout out to the Kind of Funny best friend that Melissa went out on a date with.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. I was actually out on a date yesterday, too.
Way to go!
Yeah, I'm a little bit hungover. So this is going to be fantastic. But we went out to a couple breweries and just chatted it up and went to there was a couple different events going on there. So we just kind of walked around and had some fun. So it was cool. It was good.
Good.
Yeah. That being said, though, this week went by really slow for me. I don't know if that was the same thing for you or not, but I asked a couple people and they were like, yeah, it's been really strange week. One guy was like, yeah, I don't think I know how time works. So yeah, so I was gonna say E3 was this past weekend, so there's a whole bunch of video game news that I was super excited for, and then I finally bought a Nintendo Switch.
Awesome!
So I've been playing Zelda the entire week.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. But yeah, let's go ahead and get things started here. What are we talking about this week, Melissa?
We are going to literally dive in. You say dive in a lot, and this time it actually applies. We are talking about a comic series called Department H, and when you abbreviate it, it spells Dept.
Yeah.
And it is an underwater murder mystery.
It is, and I remember it was last year sometime, and I finally put it together that it spells depth. And I was like, oh, I get it now. It was not my best moment. But yeah, it's a underwater kind of murder mystery, kind of crime noir meets 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea type of thing. It's mainly done by Matt Kindt. I believe his wife is doing the colors. I'm not sure. I don't know if I remember that correctly. I don't have it up in front of me here. Maybe I can pull it up as we talk. But yeah, Matt Kindt does most of the writing and does the artwork on this book. And it was one that I've had my eye on for a little while. I remember when it first started coming out, and I really, really liked kind of the hand-drawn. It's not what you would think of for Marvel or DC comics, where it's everything is finely tuned and they're all perfect specimens of the human, race and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. This is a much more I hate to use the word sketchy, but it's much more it's very personal is what I felt like.
Yeah, and it's done with watercolors.
Yes.
And so it is scans of the actual paper, and you can see the texture and like the toothiness of the paper it was originally done on, like here in these digital comic files we looked at, and that was this really wonderful, personal, intimate touch to the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. I was excited to read this. I guess for those of you out there who have not read this, we mentioned it's a murder mystery.
Yes.
The story follows this woman whose father was just murdered, and he was murdered kind of in this underwater, I guess, like science lab thing. It was like an old oil rig that was like repurposed to this like underwater research lab. He's somehow murdered there, and she has to go figure out who it was. She was not there when it happened. She kind of has been absent from his life for a while, it sounded like. So they brought her in because it's like, okay, your family, we know you will actually want to solve this, but you also aren't close to him. So, you're not going to have some kind of like preconceived notion of what's going on here. And so she agrees to go down and figure it out. Let's see, I'm looking at the comic book right now on my phone, and it says story and art by Matt Kindt, colors by Charlene Kent, and letters by Marie Enger. So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
What did you think? Because you said you were in the mood for a crime book when you picked this last week.
Yeah. I liked it. I feel like it took a little while to get going. Did you kind of have that same feeling? Because, like, I liked Volume 1, but I got much more into it in Volume 2. I think there was a big advance in quality of storytelling. Did you feel like that?
I definitely felt like Volume 2 kind of dived into... There I go again with saying dive into. It explored the characters a lot more. So I think it really opened up to, okay, who are these people? Why are they on this ship? Maybe that will help us figure out the mystery and stuff like that. And I don't know, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I liked this book.
Yeah.
I love the concept. Just this like locked room murder mystery, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That sounds fantastic. That's right up my alley. And so I really wanted this book to be good, but I think there was just a number of problems to me that just got in the way, and it was just like, I wish it wouldn't do this. Like, so one thing that was very neat. I guess we can go ahead and get into spoilers and stuff like that. So if you guys have not read this, go check it out. Despite me not kind of liking it as much as I hoped, I still think it's a good read. It's an interesting book, and we only read the first half. So we don't actually know how it concludes, and maybe it ends up being really awesome. But yeah, go check it out. Department H, I believe it's published by Dark Horse Comics. But yeah, so I was a little like, it was hard for me to get into this book. One of the things I thought that they did that was really cool was on like kind of like the inside of the pages where the spine of the comic book would be, they had these like ticker marks running up the side of it, and each issue filled in a new ticker mark, and it started from the bottom too, so it kind of rose up to the top, which the book kind of starts out with that, and it's the main character being like, it's not the descent, like going into the depths of the ocean and no longer seeing the light. It's not that scares me, but it's coming back up. And what that means, like when you when you resurface, which I think was a fantastic way to start the book. But then it had that little neat design thing on the side where each issue filled in a new like ticker measurement thing. Not sure what to call those, but I was like, oh, that's neat. That's cool. I like that. But I think the main problems for me was the pacing.
Yeah.
The pacing of this book was really strange to me. I guess I was kind of expecting it to be a lot slower than it was. And this book is actually very, very fast paced. So I was not expecting that, because she gets there to that underwater base, and I want to say by the end of issue 1, like start of issue 2, everything is going wrong, and it's it's a little overwhelming.
And I think everything we read only took place over like probably less than 24 hours. Like, it's kind of hard to gauge time down there because there aren't, day and night cycles, and like nobody has the time to like lay down and rest and go to sleep, but it feels like time-wise very compressed.
Yeah. I think at one point she mentioned like she hadn't slept in like 36 hours or something, which also might explain why she's kind of seeing things down there in that underwater lab. But yeah, the pacing was really strange to me, because right off the bat it's kind of action packed, like everything is going wrong, this exploded and then that thing failed and now we have to fix this and we have to do that, and it's just like, oh, okay, they're not really getting to the mystery, because obviously like someone is sabotaging all of this stuff and making it happen. But it, like, I kind of expected it to just be this real slow burn of like, okay, I have to live down here with these people for a while to kind of figure out who they are and stuff like that. And so it had this like, right off the bat, here's the action, and then volume 2 slowed down as she gets trapped in one of the rooms with this guy, and she goes, okay, well, tell me their stories. And just each issue was, okay, here's the backstory on this character, here's the backstory on that character, and they were great stories, but it's like, okay, you just had me going nonstop for 6 issues or so, and now we're just like stuck here. So, I mean, is that something that stuck? Because you mentioned you liked Volume 2 a lot more.
Yeah. I think in Volume 1, it'll go from a story in Mia's past to something Mia is doing currently, and I never felt like there was quite enough breathing room between here's a flashback, here's present day.
Sure.
Like, I wanted each thing to just sort of have a little bit more breathing space in between it. Like, have, like, if we come right out of like a dramatic thing in a flashback, maybe have like what's happening in current times be like a little bit slower, so that it's not just like tension to tension, just like sort of pace it out a little bit better.
Yeah.
In Volume 2, everything you're being told is, you're just being told it. You're not being, the past is not illustrated to you. It is just Roger telling it to Mia, and you're getting Roger's little word bubbles over the illustrations of what the person he's talking about is doing currently. And I feel like that worked a lot better. It wasn't like, here's a thing and then here's a thing. It's like, nope, here's 2 things layered over each other. And that felt a lot smoother to me, and it felt a lot more powerful, I think.
I think it felt more powerful. I actually did like the second volume because of the storytelling, what they were gelling there, because the first story that you get told, like the first character's backstory, is the guy who's like the self-appointed priest, and it's a really interesting story of like he's this kind of religious guy. He's not actually a priest or anything like that, but he's very religious. He kind of takes science hesitantly, if that makes sense. He's not like, science is bad, but he's like, okay, science may have something here, but we also have to question it still. Like, you know, and yeah, like it's telling the story of him kind of challenging. What was her name? Was it? I don't.
Oh, the dad's name?
No, the main character's name.
Oh, Mia.
Mia. Okay, I thought it was something,
and
but
her
then
dad's name was Hari.
She's also, I think, Hawaiian or like part Hawaiian. So I was like, I know her brother's name is Raj. So
no, I think they're Indian, and I believe they lived and worked for a long time in Hawaii. And I believe her mom was given like, oh, this is like your local nickname. Like, this is the equivalent of what your name would be, you know, in Hawaiian.
Gotcha. Because, I at least knew that they were not white, which was a nice thing, to not have a murder mystery with the main character being white. But, yeah, so she's being told this story about how this self-appointed priest guy, when he was in college, taking her father's class, he would kind of challenge him. But then they kind of mentioned that he's like this harmless soul. Like he, you know, like he's actually a good guy, but it's paired with him murdering someone.
Yeah, but you can tell he's very conflicted about it, and he is doing it because he knows
trying
this
to
is
do
the
right
only
thing.
way. Yeah, this is the only way to take this one life to save countless other lives. And I loved that he is open about it. Like, he doesn't try and hide it. He's not like, I don't know, Jerome just hit his head and he fell down. He's like, no, I killed him because otherwise he was going to destroy this cure, and the people need to be cured. I really liked Aaron. I liked how just honest and upfront he was about everything.
Yeah. Not that murder is a good thing, but
yeah, but he didn't try and hide it, and I liked that.
Yeah. No, like it was just that interesting juxtaposition where you're like, wait, I know he's trying to save people, and the guy he's murdering is also kind of crazy and talking to himself and seeing things, and he's just not there. So could this guy actually have it in him to murder his dad? And like we're watching him murder someone else, and it's just like, oh boy. I have no idea. Like, that's a tough one, because we're hearing this story of how he's actually a great guy, and then here he is murdering someone. It's so strange. But yeah, so that leads me to a question. If we can kind of take a side path here. That cure that he was trying to take from the guy that he ended up murdering, the book doesn't really talk about that much, or at least yet, or what's happening on the surface. That kind of confused me, because it looked like they were researching some kind of cure to some kind of major virus or epidemic that had happened on Earth. On one hand, it kind of reminds me of some kind of post-apocalyptic thing, but I don't think it was, or at least to that extent.
No. Yeah, it didn't feel like it was far enough along to be considered like, this is a dystopia now. But yeah, times were rough out there on land. There was some sort of bad virus going around, and that's what got Mia's mother, you know, who knows how, maybe like 10 years ago or something. So yeah, the world has been living in this time of pestilence, I guess. And this research base is down underwater trying to see, doing general like biological maritime research, and also like, is there any compound we can get from any of the flora and fauna down here that can help foster a cure? And we're like this little incubator down here, like nobody really comes or goes, so we're kind of unofficially quarantined off.
They're all stuck
and we've got
there,
a safe environment to test all of this. Yeah So
it's because like I kind of wanted to know more about that. Like, how did this thing start? Like, how you know like it it was enough of a side plot, or I guess not. I mean, it at least was not much of a side plot in this. It was more just like, oh yeah, by the way, but it was enough of a detail that I was like, well, wait a minute, I kind of want to know more about that. Like, the murder is interesting, but this is also interesting. Like, can you tell me more about that? And they did not, and so I was just like, oh man, I guess we're gonna focus on this mystery.
It would have upped the stakes, I think, because people are talking about, oh, we need this cure for the people, for the world out there, and we don't see the world out there. We don't get any sort of glimpse of, like, what the general public is going through. How bad it actually
is, yeah.
Yeah, like, nobody has, like, you know, the CNN on in the background saying, like, you know, we are entering the 10th year of this plague. Like, there's nothing like that. And I would have liked just a tiny bit more of that to sort of give me an idea of what, okay, you want to help people, what are people going through?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting read. I'm still kind of lost as to where they will go by the end of this book.
Yeah.
Because I think they've hinted at a number of possibilities. Did you have any theories of who done it, or where where you think this book is going, based off the first?
I don't know. I'm not good at mysteries. I like them, but if I actually try and figure them out myself, I get stuck in this loop of, oh, it's obvious, it's got to be that. No, that's too obvious. It's not going to be that. It's going to be the thing I least expect. That's kind of the fun of it. Yeah, I get stuck in a loop and, like, I don't know how to break out of it. I'm just tumbling down a hill infinitely until the thing is over and it tells me what happened. I'm not good at them. I wish I was. So I'm trying to read more mystery things and watch more mystery things and become a better armchair detective.
Better gumshoe. Yeah, so I don't know who did it. I don't even know if I have a solid idea of which person I think it was yet. Mm-hmm. I kind of think it's someone who wasn't down there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of wondering if it was, like, I guess his name is Alan, or Elaine, I guess his name. Like, he's involved in the company. Mm-hmm. We know that he can send stuff down there. He was involved with Mia, but we haven't learned much about him yet. And we know that he has some kind of, like, secret language with Mia. And they're kind of, or he at one point was trying to be like, you need to get out of there now, which is very mysterious and like, what is going on? Why do you know this? You know.
Yeah, I think it might be like that billionaire guy he's kind of working with.
Potentially,
like
that
the guy who's funding everything, but then also...
Money's a good motivator.
Is that too obvious? I wonder if it might be... I think it might be somebody who will have a... It'll be very poignant for Mia to confront this person.
Yeah.
It's not going to mean as much if she has to go confront Q or Bob, but it's going to have a lot of weight to it if it was Raj or if it was Lily.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder if it might be some... And they've got something going on we didn't get to learn a lot about yet.
Yeah, they do. They've also hinted at some weird undersea creatures, though.
Yeah.
So... on one hand, I feel like I would be really disappointed if it was actually, like, some sea monster or some sea creature, or, you know, it's not actually that he was murdered by another person, but, you know, was killed while researching something.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be quite like that. Also, when she goes down to the murder scene, there's a gun floating around, isn't there?
There is, yes.
And it's entirely possible that, like, he just had the gun with him, like that was some sort of security protocol, or that's just an item, like, in a lockbox there in that science lab.
Well, it sounded like whatever happened, someone caused, like, a cave-in, like, the pressure. So the gun would point to that. If they shot it, you know, it blows a hole, and then they all
Yeah.
They all explode.
So I think... Yeah, so unless they pull something crazy like, oh, this underwater creature is sentient enough to figure out how to work a gun and destroy the pressure of
Well, we
the
did
lab.
see underwater talking spiders.
That was a crazy twist, because what I was expecting was going to happen, because she's going through this underwater cave and she's like, I hear Raj's voice. He's got to be safe down here. I was expecting it to be something like a recorder, like some sort of a recording device. Like he tried to record like a last message and it was there like replaying it and glitching through it.
Yeah.
And instead she goes and it's these weird sea spiders that have a parrot-like ability to mimic human speech, which is the first like real hard like fantastical sci-fi turn that this story takes. It's like, whoa, I didn't know we were playing with something like that.
It's like, okay. Spiders,
yeah, it's like
not fun.
It's almost so wacky that it kind of underplays the tension of the moment. Like, oh, it's this thing. It's like the end of Watchmen, the graphic novel. Because I know it's a little different in the movie, where like Ozymandias' plot is to build this big, crazy-looking alien monster, and the plan is good, but the alien is so wacky-looking, it kind of
his
impacts
plan
a
worked.
little bit. Yeah, it worked, but it's like, oh, you lost like a couple shades of the seriousness here.
Just so crazy.
And I kind of wish you would have gone in a little different direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's at the same time though, like that's one of the things about like underwater life. There's so much of it that we don't know about.
Yeah, that is true.
He can kind of make up these I mean, I don't know if these are a real thing or not. If they are, good God, don't put them anywhere near me. But
they can't talk.
Yeah, but yeah, like it allows him to kind of make these fantastical, horrific creatures, and being like, hey, it's just life that we haven't discovered yet.
Yeah. The giant turtle was my favorite one.
Yeah, and again, it's just like she walks out in this room and there's this gigantic turtle that's like it's like Godzilla size, and she's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go the other way now.
I did like the juxtaposition of this tiny, tense, cramped, dingy science facility, but then just outside are all these beautiful creatures just floating around without a care in the world. They're like, no, we can't look at the creatures. We're gonna be in this gray, angry box.
Yeah. Weird stuff. Because yeah, like I'm hoping it's not one of the monsters, because to me that would be disappointing. That it's like, oh, it's a murder mystery, and then it's like, oh, he got killed by a sea creature. That's a little disappointing.
I think that's how like one of the first murder mysteries, like Edgar Allan Poe's Murder at the Rue Morgue. I think it's that one. There's some like old Edgar Allan Poe mystery tale where the guy was killed by a monkey. This is real?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind, like, the mystery of, like, okay, we need to figure out how this guy died, and it ends up being some, like, real crazy thing. But
yeah.
I think when you sell it as a murder mystery, I don't know about you, but I have the connotation that it is a person that did this.
Yes.
Like, we need to figure out who this person is and how, and when it's not a human, when it's not a person, then it's like, ooh, okay, not what I was hoping for. Like, I don't know, I guess it's semantics for me, because it's like, that's what a murder mystery is, but if you do, like, a detective show, like, if they had said this was a detective book, rather than a murder mystery, then like mentally I'm opened up to, okay, maybe it wasn't a human that did this, maybe it was something else, and we just need to figure it out, so who knows.
Yeah, and in some regard there is some sort of dark poetic beauty that he gave his life's work to the sea, and the sea like took his life away, but ultimately like Dr. Hari Hardy's downfall is that he had bad relationships with the people around him. He was so obsessed with his work, and his work killing him in the end is nice. Like, it works, but it does not work as well as just somebody he has inadvertently wronged through his carelessness. Being like, nope, no more of you. We're done with this.
Yeah, I mean, there is that kind of poeticness to it. And we mentioned the start that Mia is more scared of what it means for her to come back up after this. And you mentioned something that you think whoever it is, it's going to be someone that it's going to be very meaningful for her to confront.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you think Mia has changed since being down there?
One of the things about Volume 1 is that it's just Mia talking about herself and the things very immediately concerning her.
Okay.
I was expecting her to get down there and, like, observe the people around her, and she doesn't. Like, all of her thoughtfulness is turned backwards into herself. Like, she's not, like, looking at anybody. She's not like, Jerome, what's Jerome's story? She's like, I remember this thing that happened to me when I was 12, and it led to me developing, this personality trait. And it's so self-centered in book 1.
Yeah, very much so.
And I can't quite tell if that is her own flaw that the story is setting us up to see her resolve and see her overcome and see her be more selfless, because that would be a nice parallel to her dad, who was sort of like, this is my work, this is what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go out there and do it, and I'm not really paying attention to the consequences it has on the people around me. Or if that was just the way the narrative was structured. Like, okay, Volume 1, we're gonna learn all about our crime solver, and then we're going to learn more about the suspects in the next volume after that. So yeah, I hope we learn to see her be just a little bit more thoughtful about the people around her and, like, care a little bit more.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective of, like, what if to actually solve the mystery, she has to be, like, the opposite of her father. Just, like, because at the start, she is all about it. Like, I am here to solve this mystery. That is it. Get out of my way, and she's 100% focused on her work. And one of the first characters she sees when she gets down there is her brother, right? It's her own family, and there's this very brief confrontation that you know was going to happen, right? Where it's like, wait, you're not actually counting me as a suspect, right? Like, I'm your brother. Like, cut me some slack. And she's like, no, like, I can't. Like, I don't know. It was one of you, and I don't know who yet. And so I'm wondering if by the end of this book, she, like, to actually figure it out, she's gonna kind of have to step back from that mindset of, like, okay, I need to solve this, and maybe have it be more of like, okay, I need to come to terms with this and what happened here.
Yeah.
So, and then it'll all become clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I want this group of people that we have here to exit as to get through all of this and have some sort of bond with each other. Like, people are going through a lot of lengths to sort of protect and save and help each other, but nobody ever stops and says, like, thank you. Like, it's all done out of this sense of, this is what is necessary to get the job done, and there's no gratitude that exists anywhere. There's no, like, hey, I know you were just doing your job, but, like, really, buddy, thank you for, draining the water out of that tunnel so that I could get through it. There's nothing like that, and I hope we're going to get something like that towards the end of this. I hope this is some sort of tale of, maybe we've come from very bad biological families, but we can, if we get through these differences, if we get through this terrible situation, we can kind of learn to be each other's just solid, nice work family. Like, we can be good to each other now. We can let the past go, and we can learn to be good to each other.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of depictions of like bad relationships throughout this story, and I don't know if we really have very many good ones to hold on to. Like, okay, that's nice. Why can't anything be more like that? Like, it seemed like Mia and Alan had a very sweet relationship going, but we don't know a lot about it. We just saw that one little scene, and we don't know what has happened between that scene and where they are now, and if they're on the rocks, or if they're just like, oh, circumstances have just forced us to be physically away from each other for a while.
It seemed like circumstances based off what she said. That page was actually fantastic when she goes to talk to him, because it's like her talking to him in the present day, in the panels, but in the gutter, in the spaces in between the panels, in this like brownish coffee stain, like wispy stuff in the background is like what she's thinking, and it's her memories of them together, and that, like, it worked out really well. It was a very neat use of that space. I was like, oh, this is neat, cool. But yeah, did you have a favorite? Actually, before I asked you that, I guess continuing on the relationships in Volume 2, I think we're also kind of being set up to feel sympathetic for the guy that she's trapped in the room with no legs.
Yeah, Roger.
Roger, yeah. Because he's the one telling the stories of all these people, but he's also, we don't know if he's a reliable narrator or not. Yes. Which is an interesting, like, part of the mystery, because he's a suspect too, and it's like, do we really want to trust these stories where he's kind of painting himself as the good guy, the father figure that she never had, you know?
Yeah, I really liked the part where he talks about how when she was a little girl, Mia got bitten by a snake, and Mia has remembered, like, her father picking her up and, like, carrying her, like, driving a motorcycle and carrying her at the same time to the hospital.
That was Roger.
And then Roger's like, yeah, and Roger's like, no, like, your father was gone. I had to do that for you. I had to do that for your family. And so then you see her memory, like, replace her dad's face with Roger's face, but is she breaking through this construct that she invented and seeing what was really there, or is she like, well, was I wrong? Was it really Roger? Have I been remembering it wrong the whole time? I did like that gray area a lot.
Which is an interesting detail, because in that first volume, she goes on and on about how she remembers everything, like, perfectly.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this story element is changing. That's kind of interesting. I wonder.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's also, like, he was I guess Roger was the one who was filming all of the expeditions and stuff like that. So he wasn't necessarily about the, like, oh, we need to explore for science. He was just more along for the ride. But it looks like as time went on, he ended up being in it for better or for worse. He's like, I'm going to be here no matter what. I see the value in this. So I'm wondering if it is potential, like, hey, this is my business partner and I can see how I can take over and do some, make some more money or do X, Y, and Z, who knows what. And maybe he's finally getting his comeuppance then. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I did want to ask who your favorite character was so far.
My favorite character was Aaron, because the first time you meet him, he feels a lot more lighthearted and jovial than anyone else there. I mean, as much as you can be when you're underwater and the leader of your expedition is dead and your base is failing around you, but he's a little bit lighter hearted, and I just liked that because you don't see the religious character often fulfilling that Like, the religious guy is not also, like, the fun, chummy, like, cool guy with his graphic t-shirt. Like, that's normally not the same guy.
That's the
and
youth
I really
group
like
pastor.
that they put yeah, I liked that he wasn't this, like, stern old priest. He is, like, a very young, enthusiastic guy. Yeah, I liked Aaron a lot.
Yeah, he was cool. You mentioned the scene. I think it stood out for me too when they all kind of meet up back after she had heard some of these stories, and they all went and had to do what they had to do, and they all get back and made up, and they're like, "Yeah, where's the scientist dude?" And he's like, "Oh, I murdered him." And they're just,
Yeah.
what? And he was like, "Oh, don't worry. Like, he was trying to kill me and destroy the cure for this virus that is plaguing Earth. So, kind of had to save the cure." And it's kind of a mix of, like, I mean, it sucks. I didn't want to do it, but I also wanted to save more lives, and he's kind of crazy. No one
Yeah.
liked him anyways. So, I
Yeah.
don't know, it's also kind of self-defense because he was going crazy and attacking, and, so who knows?
Yeah, I like that he did what he had to do. He was conflicted in the moment, but he's like, I made my choice. I did what was right. I'm going to admit this to everyone, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I liked how he felt emotionally prepared to deal with all of this stuff. Like, oh, I think I can count on Aaron to not crack at any point in the future.
I don't know. I mean, because with a bunch of, like, religious tropes and stuff, you always have the, like, guilty conscience and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what if it's, I mean, what if it's one of those things where he, accidentally killed the father, Hari, and he's kind of, it's kind of eating him up, and he's cracking already, and that's why when this opportunity comes up for number 2, he's just like, I can't help it, I can't control it, What if he's already cracked?
Yeah,
You just
who
don't know.
knows?
You just don't know.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it's a good point. Like, you really don't know.
he has that, like, we've already mentioned his story and how he seems conflicted, but at the same time you get the panel where he looks like he's very evil, of just like, my plan is working, excellent, it's that anime trope where the guy with the glasses, will push him up and they flash white, and it's just like,
Yes!
he's the villain.
Yeah, you're right. He does have the evil anime guy glasses.
Yeah, and he had like, after he murdered the scientist dude, he had that moment where, like, it had that really dramatic lighting, and it's just like, this is I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. I think my favorite character, is Q.
Yeah.
He's the muscle. He was an interesting guy. Apparently, because he's also a criminal. I don't remember what they said he was in for. Did they say or not? Was he in? Was he in for murder?
Yeah, I don't think they specify. I don't think they specify it.
Well, he was in jail and eventually got hired as muscle to do this stuff. He's the guy that can make the tough decisions if they really need to, which he had to at one point before this story picks up, and that's kind of eating him out. Like, it just, his insides are like, I can't do this. He's already changed. It's like, I don't want to have to make these tough decisions anymore. But we do know from being locked in that room that if he needs to, he still will.
Yeah.
And he's like, he has this very scary, like, personality about him, and just the way he looks, right? because he has tattoos all on his face and arms and stuff like that. But he kind of has a lisp when he talks, and they write his character like it sounds, which kind of diffuses that to me.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I've got two things about Q. He's got all these blue tattoos all up and down him, but they're sort of blocky and angular. They're
like
not
scales.
anything specific. They're just shapes.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the comic, I'm like, is this a tattooed guy? Or is this like an alien or a mutant? Like, we've just started.
Is
I
this
don't
a
know how
sea
sci-fi
creature that can shapeshift into the likeness of humans and simulate their voice boxes? Maybe that's why he has
I didn't know how hard sci-fi we were gonna get, because this is right at the beginning, and I'm like, well, we just know these couple people here in the station. I don't know if this is far enough in the future. It's like, oh yeah, we got alien people walking around. There's hundreds more of this partially blue guy up on land if we would just go up and land and look at them.
How dare you think that anyone who looks different from you is an alien?
Because I couldn't tell looking at the artwork, like, are these tattoos or are these, like, weird biological markings? Like, they weren't detailed enough for me to tell.
The artwork is more expressive, and we mentioned personal.
Yeah.
Oops, I think my mic just peaked as well. We are going back to the thing. Yeah, the artwork is much more expressive and personal, right? We mentioned that it felt personal. So it's one of those things that, yeah, I think you can kind of look into and almost interpret in different ways. So I don't think you're wrong, right? When it's like, maybe he's not everything that he seems.
And then the other thing I wanted to say about Q is that when you get his backstory, you learn he is from Australia. And his dialogue was written like he had an accent, and I could not figure out like what kind of accent it was supposed to be, because he doesn't say anything specific. He doesn't have any sort of specific references or colloquialisms that would point you towards like, okay, this is where this guy is from. So I just defaulted to whenever I read an accent in a comic book, and I'm like, well, I guess he just sounds like Gambit. So, so that's how I was...
Gambit is your default comic book accent. Mon ami.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? Until I know better, until they tell me where he's from, or I'm able to figure it out, I'm like, you're just gonna sound like Gambit for like all of Volume 1 until I know where you're from, and then they say Australia, and I'm like, okay, now I can see how this would sound Australian.
I kind of pictured him like from New York or New Jersey.
Oh.
With a slight lisp. And he's like, he's the big tough guy, but he has this really, really soft voice, like, hey, you should come over here, you know? And I'm like, that's perfect. So it's really funny that you're like, Gambit. He's gonna be a smooth
all comic book accents
talking
are Gambit.
Cajun. But yeah, that's funny. That being said, his story was not my favorite though. I liked him as a character. I thought he was the most like, visually interesting, and we just we don't know, like, I feel like I was the most comfortable around him, despite how he's supposed to be this big scary guy with all these these tattoos. He just, I don't know, he just kind of diffused it for me. I don't know. But my favorite story, and I don't remember his name, as I don't remember anyone's name, was the military dude who...
Bob!
Who killed, like, the whole drug cartel or something. And when they found him, he's there, like, with all of the bodies, and he's, like, covered in blood. That story was fascinating. I was like, that is awesome. But it's also really, really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of Bob? Because we haven't really talked about him yet.
No. I like Bob's visual design. I liked his dreadlocks and his harpoon gun.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I liked his backstory. It's very big and bold and dramatic. Like, Yeah, I was like this,
He's kind of like Rambo.
Yeah, he's like a Navy SEAL who's been like extremely decorated, and then he gets into these like secret wet works missions, and something goes wrong, and the government has to like cut him loose, and he has to forage for survival. I felt like the backstories we got were these almost like classic backstory archetypes.
Kind of
like,
want that story now. Like, Matt
Yeah.
Kindt, please write that story.
Yeah, we've got like the soldier of fortune who had to fight to survive. We've got just like the ex-con trying to make a good life for himself who is faced with a tough decision and
Yep.
like has to hurt more people in order to help more people. And then we've got this upstart, well, just like inspired young student that's like, Professor, really think about what you're doing. Like, all the backstories we got felt like these sort of classic archetypal like
We have
template
the
backstories
sexy
you could get anywhere.
assistant who's kind of involved with the family on multiple
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which isn't
it's strange. It's
just
good.
to say anything felt, like nothing felt cliche, but I don't know, I did kind of like, it reminds me of like those, I don't know, like you'd get like a big war movie and it's like, okay, here are 5 archetypes of guys in the company.
There's Sarge.
And this is,
There's the
Yeah,
the,
like-
the runt, who's scared
yeah,
of
there's
everything.
the farm boy, there's the Casanova. Yeah, it felt kind of like that, and I liked that part of it.
Yeah, like it didn't feel cliche to me either.
Yeah.
But I think it was only because it, like, the underwater twist on this all was enough of a new setting that I was kind of willing to excuse that. It's like, oh yeah, like you said, like there's the ex-con, there's the assistant, there's the young upstart student, all of that stuff. So it's I don't know, it did enough to kind of subvert everything that I was expecting, or I guess that's not even the right way to put it, but it made enough changes where it felt new. It felt like this was his story. This is what he wanted to do. Because we've also seen locked room murders in space. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Where they're trapped wherever they are in this space shuttle, and one of them is a murderer, and we have to kind of figure it out. And so we're all sitting there like, was it you? Huh? Finger guns. But I don't know. I'm excited. I think there's only 2 more volumes after this, 'cause I think we read half of it. I know there's at least a 3rd volume, but I think it might even still be going. It might not be, like, I don't know if the 4th volume is out yet. Not sure. Could be wrong, or maybe it just ended, but I am also kind of talking out of my ass here. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, is this, because when we read Strangers in Paradise, that was also a bit of a crime mystery stuff. And we ended up writing a very, very small portion of that story. And you had mentioned you were kind of interested in keeping reading. I don't know if you have or not, but
Not yet.
this one is a much shorter story, so we read a much bigger chunk of this. Is this something you think you might keep reading or be interested to check out down the road at some point?
Yeah, I think for the whodunit aspect of it, I definitely want to see how it finishes out. If this was just a straight, like, thriller drama and there wasn't as much mystery, I don't know if I would be as compelled. But yeah, now that you've opened this mystery of who killed the guy, like, well, now I have to know who killed the guy.
Yeah, I kind of wanted it to be a little bit longer, though. If it's personally speaking, I like that slower burn mystery.
Yeah.
Where you do kind of get to know the characters as they are on the boat, not what they were, when they first met the father. So I was kind of hoping for some more of that, which is fine. But yeah, I think this is definitely one that's short enough that even in an afternoon, if you go pick it up from the store, you can pretty much finish it. And I think another reason why I would read this is it's kind of done a good job of keeping me from pinning down like who I think is the murderer. It's given me enough suspects and enough about them to keep me interested, but not enough to be like, okay, I think it's this person. We'll see what happens. But
yeah,
like
we talked about how there's like kind of classic archetypal people in just a company, but there's not a classic like mystery archetypal person. There's no butler in this story that you could point to.
Yeah,
and I like how it's never straightforward. You're never exactly sure who the story is leaning towards. I really don't know who it's going to be. I can just guess.
Yeah, they kind of always give you at least two options when they're focusing down on like a single character. It's like, well, yeah, you could take it at face value, but then the stuff that's happening over here at the same time, it's like, I don't know. We'll see. Say we'll see a lot. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts, last words on this book, Department H?
Yeah, I'd recommend checking it out. I think the second volume does have a lot. It improves a lot upon what volume 1 sets up. So if you're going to read one, read them both, at least. Yeah, definitely worth it for the artwork. The artwork is gorgeous. And it made me kind of nostalgic for Lost, in that it was all like crumbling old. It's like crumbling old technology and like underwater and survival tension and flashbacks and stuff. So I liked it. Cool. I liked it for that reason.
Good. Yeah, it's one to check out if you're a fan of Jeff Lemire and his artwork. It's very similar to his stuff. If you've read like Sweet Tooth or The Underwater Welder, this might be one that you should check out as well. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm still struggling if I liked it, because I didn't like the pacing as much. I thought Volume 2 slowed down a lot, and oddly enough, I liked that pacing more, despite it was just what I was set up to expect in Volume 1. This was different from that. And if it had been a little bit slower, or had kept that like non-stop like action pace in Volume 2, then I think I would have liked it a little bit better. But yeah, go check it out. The first volume of this is on Comixology Unlimited. But you guys, I'm sure, can find Volume 2 and 3 and potentially 4 if that is out at your local comic book store or Barnes & Noble or something. So yeah, go check it out. That being said, if you guys have been joining us on the live stream, thank you for stopping in. You guys can join our live stream at twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. And you guys can talk to us as we record these and throw in your 2 cents and maybe tell us something we didn't know about the book or the movie or something like that. So yeah, we would love to have you guys come follow us on Twitch. Right now we only have 15 followers and we need some more. Our goal is 20 at the moment. We need 5 more, so you guys should help us out and come follow us on twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. That way when we go live, you guys can get notified too. You won't miss a live stream. I'll have some more rigmarole in a sec here, but Melissa, it is your turn to pitch some stuff that we will do for next week. What do you got?
Well, so out of the things I've pitched so far, it has included 2 black and white movies, which I did not intend, and which is too specific of a thing to have 2 of them so close together.
I mean, so technically I was the one that picked them.
Yeah. So this week I have 3 picks. They are all movies. I had like other things in mind that I ended up being too difficult to get a hold of. So it's 3 movies. It should be fairly easy for you to get. 3 aggressively colorful movies, Kyle.
Aggressively colorful. There you
Like,
go.
prepare your eyes for every color you have ever seen.
Okay.
And they're not just all eye candy. Like, I think all of them will have really interesting, like, story elements we can talk about. I'm not going to have you watch, like, here's 3 different options of cool screensavers, Kyle. Out of curiosity, when I say the most aggressively colorful live-action movie to you, what is the movie you're thinking of first?
Speed Racer.
Kyle! We are made to be co-hosts. That is what it is.
I actually haven't seen it yet. But yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
Yes, I'm so happy. Pitch number 1 is the Wachowskis' Speed Racer.
Okay.
Pitch number 2 is just as visually striking, but a lot slower, a lot more sort of ponderous, and a lot more artsy, I guess you might say. This is The Fall.
The Fall.
Yeah, the movie The Fall. I don't remember who directed it, but it stars Lee Pace.
Okay, what's that one about?
This is about somewhere in, I think, the early 20th century in some sort of a hospital. Like, this might be like a 1910s Spanish flu sort of situation. I don't 100% remember.
Okay.
And it's this sick little girl in this hospital, and there's this, like, mysterious man who's, like, kind of in the same ward as her, and she wants to know his story, and he's, like, telling her a story, like, just to sort of keep her spirits up. Yeah, to, like, keep her spirits up and keep her entertained, he's telling her this, like, fairy tale story every night.
This is sounding familiar.
And you kind of end up seeing that, yeah, he's kind of telling her his past, but he's framing it in this big, bold, like, fun fairy tale way.
Okay.
And then everything you see in this sort of storytelling world is, like, so bright and so vivid, and it goes through all these variety of different landscapes, and the characters are, like, all color-coded, and... Yeah, cool. I've only seen it once, but I remember it being, like, a really striking film.
Interesting. There's a Netflix show also called The Fall, and I believe it's based off of another TV show that was, like, Swedish or Danish or something.
I think it's British. I think Gillian Anderson was in it. I think it's, like, a BBC drama, so this is not that.
Yeah, it's not that, but The Fall is also fantastic. So if you like crime shows, you should go check out that one. What is your third pitch, though?
My third pitch, a little bit closer to Speed Racer. This is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Ah, okay.
Yes, this is a Luc Besson film from last year. This stars Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne, I think her name is, and Rihanna, and a bunch of other people. This is based on, I think, a French comic series called Valerian and Laureline.
Yep, you are correct.
She is as important as he is, but they could only fit one name in this title, I guess, so it's his.
Yeah, and of course it had to be the guy.
Yeah, so it's about this pair of sort of space investigators. They work for some sort of general governing law body out there in this big, glossy, futuristic, super glam space. And it's just this adventure they go on, trying to recover this artifact and trying to help solve this mystery of this planet that disappeared. And they've got a little bit of, like, romantic banter between each other.
Okay.
Yeah, so big, fun, glossy. Yeah, so 3 different colorful things. So many colors, Kyle.
Awesome. Actually, I think I'm gonna go with Valerian.
Oh, nice.
There was a guy, I'm not sure if he's still listening to our show or not. Maybe he pops in from time to time. But yeah, he suggested the graphic novel for us, and I was like, I can't make any promises, but it is on, like, my list of things to pitch and read and stuff like that. So I might also read some of the graphic novel stuff if I can on my own. Can't make any promises on that, but I say we watch the Valerian movie for next week then.
Yes, and I have seen it before. I've seen the Blu-ray, and we watched some of the Blu-ray special features, and it shows you a lot of the panels from those comics, and they did look really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I might want to check out some of the comics at some point, too. I also can't promise I'll do it this week, but in the future, I would like to investigate the original source material.
Yeah, cool, good. Side note, if you want another colorful movie to go check out in a very similar vein as Speed Racer, there's an animated movie called Redline that you should check out. It is beautifully animated, and it's all hand done. But it
sounds familiar.
It's this kind of racing movie, and it's all these like crazy looking cars and characters, and it's just the animation gets like elongated and forced perspective, and it's just these crazy things happening, and it's good. It's like hour and a half ish, 2 hours, and it's probably one of the most visually stunning like animated films I have ever seen. So side note, if you want something else that is gonna visually punch you in the eyeballs, then go check out that. But for next week, like we said, we're gonna watch Valerian. You guys can find updates about all of our shows at thewhatnauts.com. You can follow us on Twitter at thewhatnauts. A number of our shows also have their own Twitter. We have shows that are upcoming that they're not out yet, but they have their own Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at the Whatnauts, and we will direct you to those ones, because there's a lot to name. But yeah, go follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, because we're still looking for some more help on YouTube, and we need your help on twitch.tv/thewhatnauts as well. So we need lots of help on social media, but if you guys enjoy our show, you guys can go to patreon.com/thewhatnauts, and you can throw us $1 a month, and that gives you early access to all of our episodes. Right now it's 4 episodes a month, but we are going to be having more very, very soon. In fact, news update, if everything goes correct and according to plan, I think tomorrow or Tuesday, Eric and I are going to be recording a reactor core for The Incredibles 2. So that should already, if that happens, it's already out. You guys can go find that right now. And also, if everything goes according to plan, Eric and I should be recording the first episode of The Captain's Log next Friday. So cool. by time this is already out, we will have recorded it, and you guys can join the live stream. We'll be tweeting about that at the Whatnauts on our Twitter there. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening this month, and you guys are going to get a lot more than 4 episodes per month. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff to do. But if you guys have no money, that is a-okay. We just want you to enjoy the show and have a good time. That being said, Melissa, where can they find you? What are you up to recently?
I am on Twitter at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. My live play RPG podcast that I'm a cast member on, The Lost Library. You can now hear me on 2 different stories. We did a one-shot adventure, so in addition to hearing me on the main campaign, you can hear me in the Blind Box one-shot. And then also I do a lot of appearances on my friend's show Trifecta. That's try with a Y, and we talk about 3 different variants on the same thing.
It's cool. Awesome. If you guys want to get in touch with me personally, I am at Hush315 on Twitter. And yeah, I think that is about it. We will wrap things up. Next week, go watch Valerian, and you guys can join our live stream and chat with us as you do that. That being said, I guess we will see you guys next week. My name is Kyle Springer.
I'm Melissa Wilkinson.
And this has been the Whatnauts Review Show. Adios, guys.
Bye.